That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern.
What's your stance on women's reproductive rights?
Well, we have something that's very big. The Roe v. Wade was terminated by the United States Supreme Court.
Asserting ourselves on behalf of 40 million Americans. And I imagine if you caucus those 40 million Americans, you'd find few, I don't care where they were in the last election, that are celebrating this uncertainty, that are celebrating the largest tax increase in modern U.S. history.
Do you think the president is actually realistically considering deporting American citizens here?
Well, I just spent the last couple of hours talking to legal experts on that very issue, and, you know, it's pretty clear that he can't do this under existing law.
Since I was a kid, I loved Indiana Jones. Adored the movies, struggled at the Lego game, and even had my very own hat that I wore to school a handful of times before getting bullied so hard that I put it back in the box that it was gifted to me in and never wore it again. But that didn't stop me from liking Indiana Jones. I still enjoyed the movies, games, and hat. It just wasn't at the forefront of my mind. Until I played the newest game, The Great Circle. And it's fantastic. Hilariously fun gameplay, fine storytelling. Overall, it feels like I'm Harrison Ford in a new Indiana Jones movie. That was before the scene where you gotta go see the janitor to get a new camera that he acquired from the Lost and Found box. So you can take some pictures of some ancient inscriptions or whatever. So you make your way to him, after some ziplining, fascist punching, and dog fleeing. And as you open the door to his office, he looks out the window and says,
Voi due, forza, al lavoro, signor sì, capitano. Finalmente. Era più di mezz'ora che discutevano. Da non crederci?
Some people just love the sound of their own voice.
Ah, an American. Yes, the fascists are... what is the word? I should not say. You have lost something, yes?
This moment didn't feel like Indiana Jones to me. This moment felt like a cold splash of reality, a glimpse into an ordinary citizen's mindset and viewpoint in a fascist regime. Sound familiar? Now stay with me for a minute. I know that this video hasn't really explained anything just yet, but if you ride along, I promise it'll make at least a little bit of sense. So, going back a wee bit to 2004, a young cactus named Prelly was born. He went through school, learning about how America was the greatest country of all time, and we've never lost a war, and how our presidents always have the best interests at heart But more importantly, he learned how to make broad, sweeping generalizations based off misinformation very well. Especially when looking at deep, morally complex conflicts like all those wars America definitely won. With the good one being how all Germans at the time of World War II were definitely Nazis. Little Prelly saw the world as black and white until about last year.
I'm not kidding, I literally had a 0 once.
Where Prelly went through some very excruciating circumstances that made him see the world in a different light entirely. And maybe we'll talk about those circumstances in of themselves later down the line, but for now let's understand that Prelly now knew the grayness of reality. This leads us back to the game and this very moment where Prelly now realizes certain things about the world he lives in and manages to draw a parallel between this game's world and his own. Especially when Ernesto, the janitor, distances himself from the occupying offensive group taking hold of his government. Okay, but for real for a second, whenever I played through this section of the game and heard Ernesto separate himself and the fascists, it kind of blew my mind. Not that there can't be people who differ from the rulebook in this kind of regime, but more just that the people who do tend to be completely ordinary. For example, I live in America, if that isn't already obvious, and in a state that highly leans one way over the other, in opposition to the way my community leans. because of this, they put in a lot of policies that my friends, family, and local community do not jive with and are highly resistant towards. One of the more recent hot button topics was teaching religion in schools. More specifically, the Bible in schools, not as an option, but as a mandate and a leading ideal for the opposition's campaign. My community was highly against this and banded together to not let this happen. But most importantly, at least for the formation of my perspective, was that my own family really got into this, to the point where I was playing jazz piano at a political rally and got to witness firsthand the people who rose in opposition against the things that they didn't believe, or things that they believed threatened their way of life. These people weren't heroes or knights in shining armor. They didn't make 50 Instagram posts being like, oh, someone should do something about this. No, they were parents, teachers, priests, ironically, who rose up and did something. It was just really enlightening to me, as someone who has never really been politically active in any way, to see what composed the group of people that stood against the things that threatened them. That's why this moment in the game surprised me. I don't know, maybe it's just my poor education or the fact that I tend to avoid these kinds of topics, but I've never really sat down and been like, oh yeah, even though there is all this horrible shit happening, ordinary people are still just living through it. Like, throughout human history, when there were dictatorships, fascist regimes, and other horrible shit, the people who lived through it weren't overly special at all. They were ordinary people. Ernesto is a janitor, for crying out loud, and he's still making bank selling cameras. I mean, the people who lived through the Holocaust were the most average, run-of-the-mill people, and that's mass genocide, y'all. Okay, I think I've gotten to the point of the video where things still kind of make sense and wrapped up nicely. So I'll stop here before I lose the plot. But if there is anything that you should get out of this video, it's these two things. One, you should try out The Great Circle. It's fantastic. Like, even if you're not an Indiana Jones fan, I feel like you'd really get a kick out of the deeply satisfying feeling of punching Nazis in the jaw. And two, even though there is a bunch of scary shit going on right now with our government and how people view it and are acting around it, Ernesto still made it through. And he was just an ordinary janitor. So I think we'll be fine. Probably. Hopefully. Maybe. Okay, goodbye. Hi. So I'm completely new at this whole YouTube thing. This is actually my first ever put together video. So if any of you have any recommendations, solid advice, or ideas that you think would be cool to make videos about, let me know. I don't really have any plans for this channel other than it just being a place where I just dump all my extra thoughts and ideas and stuff and try and make some cool stuff. So yeah, let me know if you guys want anything specifically, and I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.